Hey everybody, Suzette Speaks here live on your radio. I am doing a pop by. Just got back from a wonderful vacation and I'll be gone next week as well. So I have my family reunion next week, but I wanted to come in and say hello to everybody. So leave a comment, say hello, and here go a quick show, a drive by. Hello and good afternoon. I am so grateful to be here. Suzette Speaks on the mic. I'm grateful to be here. I did not know I would be back in time to do this show today, y'all. And it's a pop by, it's a drive by. I want to welcome you, Suzette Speaks Show Live, a shortened version. I had so much to talk about, even though I was on vacay. Yes, I know anybody who's doing the summer vacation thing, visiting somewhere else, visiting New York, visiting family in the Caribbean, wherever you're visiting, I wanted to say I hope you enjoy because I have certainly had an amazing week this past week. So I wasn't going to plan to do a real show today. And I said, you know what? Because of the Republican convention, I really wanted so badly to come and talk to you guys and kind of get what your thoughts were and to give my opinion on what I saw over the last 4 days. Now, where was I? I apologize, but also next week I will not be here because I'm going to a family reunion. But for the past week, I have been on a sail away, sail away. I've been on a cruise, y'all. I've been excited to have finally a vacation, and I was sailing away on a 6 day cruise to Bermuda. Big up to all the Bermudians listening. First of all, I didn't know a lot about Bermuda. I did, in fact, take several tours around this beautiful island. Only 65,000 people. It is north of the Caribbean island archipelago, they say. It is just due east of Cape Hatteras, North Carolina, and it has such a rich history. 650 miles off of North Carolina. Bermudians, if you're listening, I want to big up on self. It was such a beautiful, not only location, but the people and the attitude of the people. What a wonderfully welcoming and giving spirit from all of the tour guides to the people at the local bars and restaurants and the folks that showed us around and gave us some of the history. I want to shout out those in St. George, Bermuda. And their history goes back just as, and when I say history, I would say the European beginning of the settlement, or some people would say colonization of the West, goes back as old as Jamestown, as in the United States' history. So Bermuda was so-called discovered, we'll say discovered, but you know what I'm saying, by Europeans who came in around 1503. Some people say around 1511 was the first settlement there, but not a lot of Bermudans I have met. I've met two. One was a coach of mine who helped train me from high school days, and my godmother, who is a Jamaican who spent time in Bermuda on work visas. Let me tell you, the quality and standard of living in Bermuda. If you are a nurse, if you are a teacher, they do give work permits for certain amounts of time. But I felt a closeness to her and her stories. She had recently passed, my godmother, but she spent 10 years in Bermuda doing work as a nurse. And I can see why she fell in love with this beautiful island chain. So big up all the Bermudians listening. And if you get a chance to go to Bermuda, I'm definitely going back. I am. When I tell you water, clean, 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 pretty, 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 aqua, turquoise, bright blues, and and they have pink sand beach, and you can see straight to the bottom of the ocean. When you look down at your feet, the water clear, clear, clear. I was like, ain't no pollution over here, y'all. But in the meantime, outside of vacation, I woke up while I was watching the actually I had gone to dinner on the cruise, and then I uh, heard people around the tables at the dining room rumbling, talking about this unfortunate incident, which was the assassination attempt of former President Donald Trump. And it was jarring. I thought the captain actually on this cruise ship that sailed from, we flew to New Jersey, and from New Jersey we went to Bermuda. So it's kind of crazy because Bermuda is actually closer to the Northeast than it is here, where we are in South Florida. But nonetheless, we woke up to that crazy news about the attempted assassination, or went to bed with that. And then we got into the Republican National Convention that happened in Milwaukee this week over the last 4 days. So every night I try not to watch too much politics because when you're on vacation, you really try to be on vacation. And I don't know about you, but I like to unplug and I like to focus on being present, enjoying the moment. If you ever see me, me go upon water slides on this cruise. We go upon what they call a boogie board. When you lay down on your stomach like a surfer. and the water push you. I'm talking about pressure in my head. I did wipe out. I will post some of these videos on my YouTube as well as on my Instagram. But right now, I want to give this show a little politics time. That's why I came in. I said it's too important for us to see the Republican National Convention take place and finish yesterday with the culmination of Trump accepting the nomination for his party for president. There was a lot of interesting moments, I should say, interesting moments that I was able to witness while taking this topic on. And I wanted to talk about it. I know we have to take a quick break here, but we want to know what you think and if you watched any of the Republican convention this week. I want to know your thoughts. 850-446-0562. 850-446-0562. Get you right in touch. I came back with a little bit of a sniffle, y'all, and I got to go travel again next week. But God be praised. But yes, we looked at this convention, and I think the most unique and interesting point that came out of it after that assassination attempt was that Trump picked a young, what should I say, millennial from Ohio, a United States Senator named J.D. Vance, for his vice president. And J.D. Vance has gone up a 180 from being anti-Trump at every turn to now fully in his corner and representing the real, what can I say, the real ideology of MAGA, and that's what the party stands for. Trump gave a speech yesterday, y'all. It was long. It was historic, the longest presidential nomination speech in history. 92 minutes, Mr. Trump spoke for. And at the beginning, it sounded like he was honestly reading the teleprompter, talking about what it was that, he felt when the bullet flew past his head on Saturday. And he mentioned God more than I ever heard this former president mention God. He went through some of that pre-written speech. You could tell, of course, many of the speeches are written and posted on the teleprompter, which the speech giver then reads. But honey, in the middle of the speech, Trump went on a piece of tangent. They said about a third of the speech was just him going on his normal campaign rants. And on those rants, it was divisive. It was talking about immigration and how he plans to repatriate, to send back home and create the largest immigration overhaul to return non-documented people back to their countries of origin. He was really serious. He got a big applause for that, saying that he is planning to send everybody that he can back. He said he doesn't mind if people come legally, but he is going to clean house. He talked about, again, he went from a very somber mood at first to back to the regularly scheduled program. And why I say that is because a lot was made about, this speech being a unifying speech. When people go through something where their life flashed before their eyes, if you come close to death, it's supposed to change you. But I heard Chris Christie, former governor of New Jersey, say it best this morning on The View. He said it impacted him, but he said from listening to his speech last night, it didn't change him. One piece of chaos on the stage. We're going to talk more about it after this break. Trump brought out the celebrities this week. He had Amber Rose earlier in the week. He also had, for his introduction, let me tell you, Hulk Hogan came out. Y'all remember the wrestler WWE, Hulk Hogan? Dana White, the owner of the WWE. Kid Rock, the rock and roll superstar, played a full set, prepping the crowd for him. It was a spectacle, to say the least. But this is a real election. No matter how much the pomp and circumstance took place, which it in fact did, we see that, we still have a very strict choice right now. But I want to ask you, and we'll do more after the break, do you think that President Biden will in fact stay in this race? That is my question for you. Do you think Biden will stay in this race? There's going to be pressure now from all sides, pressure from inside, pressure from outside. And it is really interesting to see how now Mr. Biden, may face a dilemma coming up. Don't go nowhere. More Suzette Speaks Show right after this. All right, I think we don't. Let me see if we have our commercial breaks today. But nonetheless, I would love to hear your opinion and get your thoughts. If you want to call in, 954 excuse me, 850-446-0562, 850-446-0562. Get you right in touch. This is a surprise drive-by. As I told you guys, I would be on vacation for most of this month. Started out literally the last show I did was talking about Project 2025, and now we heard the real issues that the Republicans now say the American population faces. But instead of bringing the unity and the solidarity, and then people thought he was going to be humble, and I don't know that I saw all of that except for the very beginning of the speech when President or former President Trump was reading off the teleprompter. Suzette Speaks Show Live, doing a quick drive by. I will not be here. I will be back on vacation next week and then come in full strength in August. We just wanted to talk about the Republican National Committee, excuse me, convention that was held in Milwaukee, Wisconsin over the last 4 days. Again, I'm telling you because I honestly still feel like I'm on a boat right now. I have been wavy. When I tell you waves upon waves when it comes to this trip I was just on, I took a 6-day cruise to Bermuda and enjoyed that island for the very first time. I had not a lot of information, had not read a lot about Bermuda, had not met many people from Bermuda, but now it was just an amazing experience seeing this island with a history that goes back to 1500s United States. Again, we're talking about European occupation of these places. We're not going to say that they hadn't had native and indigenous populations before, but I'm talking about when we talk about modern history. This island chain has a history that dates back to about the early 1500s. It is still a part of the Commonwealth of Britain. I thought they were independent, but they're not. They're overseas territory of the United Kingdom. That means they can travel back and forth to England and to any really territory in the British Commonwealth. They do have a governor. They do have uh, an elected head of state, and they administer their own affairs, although they do fall under the Commonwealth still. What I got about what I gathered about Bermudians is that they are very, very friendly. There are wonderfully conversational and welcoming people. Of course, you say, "Oh, so you were at the tourist spots." Of course, they're gonna be nice. They want the good tips and they want all of that. But I think outside of that, talking to people kind of like off to the side after the bus tours we went throughout this island. It's not very large. Like I said, only 65,000 people. And they said about, I think it's about 70% uh, African or African mixed heritage folks. And then 30% of their population is of European ancestry. But they said about 10% of the island has workers from other countries. So 10% being, South Asian, all over Asia. A lot of people from different backgrounds were there. And they have an interesting mix of people. The ideal place, I think, for a vacation, even a honeymoon, they looked a little bit different from Jamaica because they're so far north in the Atlantic. Again, they're directly across from North Carolina. Again, I left out of Jersey and took a ship there. It's closer than South Florida, but I was looking at some of the similarities with the flowers and the trees that they have. They do have a lot of bougainvillea on this island, as well as oleander, hibiscus, poinsettia. I mean, pretty, 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 pretty flowers this time of year. And I was looking at again some of the history there that goes back that bridges the gap between the United States and Bermuda. They helped. Well, they were actually on both sides. They were gun runners there during the Civil War, or gunpowder runners there during the Civil War. There was also rum runners, not to be outdone by the gunpowder runners. But if you get a chance to go to Bermuda or meet someone from Bermuda, I would encourage you in this Caribbean family to talk more about their history and how they fit in this wonderful, tapestry of human history. But I really came by again. I was going to tell you a little bit about my trip. Good Friday to everybody. This is a Fire Friday. Mike will be back on the one and twos, but I'm passing through only because the RNC was ooh, such an overwhelming spectacle. Miss said, I wonder if they understand at the end of the day we have a government to run and it will impact real people's lives. As I was telling you before, I really had a kind of reaction to Donald Trump's speech last night. After the 4 days, after hearing from people like Amber Rose earlier in the week, Ron DeSantis, several other speakers, the 4 days of where the Republicans met in Milwaukee to nominate their candidate for president, officially called the Republican National Convention, just concluded yesterday. And the last person to speak on the stage was Donald Trump. And as I said, former President Trump was, 78-year-old. Since we've been talking so much about Biden's performance, we did a whole show here about Biden's performance on, the debate night. I really wanted to know what you guys thought as far as the performance of Donald Trump, because it was a very rambly speech and back to the divisive and very, very conservative ideology that he holds. Like I said, for immigration, from one, I didn't hear him. He mentioned President Biden about twice. And then, like I said, he opened the speech with the solemn remembrance of what it was like to be on that stage, like almost a week ago, Saturday, where he was at a rally, outdoor rally in Pennsylvania, and a young 20-year-old who was a lone gunman took a shot at him, and how he feels it was, he said it, God Almighty, that had his back. If you ever see the bullet, I've been watching on social media how it looked. He turned his head to look at the monitor, and it was outside of his normal speech. He said, "Hey, put these slides up, will ya?" To his campaign staff. They put it up. As he was talking, he simply turned his head to look at the monitor, and there went pow, bullets from that rifle that whizzed by him, struck him in the ear, on his ear. The second one came close again. He grabbed his ear. You've seen the video online. He ducks down. There's a lot of answers we still need. The Secret Service's head, a lady actually, she will be on Monday sitting in front of the Congress, the House of Representatives. They are having a hearing right away. They were provided with a timeline of what happened. And they really want to get to the bottom of what the breakdown is, because remember, Secret Service really is, some people say, understaffed, because they have a lot of protectees, what they call the people that they protect, the protectees, including former President Trump and his family, of course, President Biden and his family. And there are several others who have death threats, including a former UN ambassador, for example, John Bolton, and all those people who some other country wants to get to them because of something that they did or said during the course of their job. Secret Service is protecting a lot of people. So there have been questions wondering, are they too thin? Was this a debacle between the local law enforcement and who expected which department? Because Secret Service often peers with the sheriff or the police department on the ground to help them when they are coming into a new location. But remember, in the United States, there are 17,000 different police agencies, right? We don't have one uniform police force. Every different county, or if you call it a parish here, or city, can have a different police force. So 17,000, and over half of those are 10 people or less. So when you think about maybe the inexperience, sometimes when you're dealing with smaller towns, when they have a police force, and what the FBI expected, again, the FBI was in charge of securing, the Secret Service was in charge of securing the inner perimeter of that Trump rally last Saturday. And it seems like local law enforcement was in charge of securing the outer perimeter. But unfortunately, they had this young man that seemed suspicious, and now there are reports that said that he seemed as if he had been spotted almost 19 minutes before Trump began his speech, and within seconds of the speech, that's when we saw that the first shot was fired. Eventually, the young man was taken out by a sniper, but that's not before the president again was grazed and ducked down, and you saw him. Even the decision to let the president stand back up and pump up his fist. You ever see, if you saw any of the clips, he picked up his hand and pumped his fist in the air. And even looking at that fist bump, I thought to myself, you know, I don't know if that's was wise. The way they huddled around him was amazing. And we also remember the late firefighter who was protecting his family sitting behind President Trump that was struck, and his funeral is today. So we remember that family and the other two victims who were also injured during these horrific times of that assassination attempt. But looking at this entire convention, like I said, it wasn't unifying, in my opinion, no, because there were so many including speeches like Donald Trump's son, Eric Trump, that talked about how terrible the state of the United States is. I was wondering to myself if there is, something else that, he has any more grievances for, but he was really and truly talking about like a failed America as a failed state and painted a very negative and dark picture of this country. And therefore, I was really curious as to, how President Trump would be heard, throughout, this speech. What was his tone going to be? Was it going to be positive or was it going to be very negative and dark? But like I said, halfway within the speech, the man began to ramble. I want to say ramble, the speech was 92 minutes long. 92 minutes long, the longest presidential acceptance speech in history. Remember, most movies now are 90 minutes, hour and a half. But he held that stage up. And like I said, some parts was more coherent, but they're always a talk about Biden. But I really wanted the media to pick up on what Trump was saying and if in fact he seemed coherent or seemed as if he had an optimistic view or an actual plan for the country. And I didn't hear that. When I look at the vice presidential pick, J.D. Vance of Ohio, and how radical he has been in his stances, again, when I say radical, J.D. Vance believes that there is should be a total ban on a woman's right to choose what to do with her body and the termination of pregnancy as needed, even in the cases of forced assault and incest and all these other things that we know unfortunately happen in this real world that we live in. J.D. Vance doesn't want to unify this country, but it was a statement that Trump plans to carry on this MAGA theology well into the future. So, looking at this convention, I was a little bit alarmed, but what I'm really also going to pivot to is that it took Mr. Biden, President Biden, off the front pages. Unfortunately, there have been reports now that President Biden has contracted COVID. So he is hunkered down now. He has stopped all the planned events for the campaign as of right now. He is going to try to let his body heal from COVID. But the questions about Mr. Biden and whether or not he was in fact, healthy enough, strong enough. And I'm wondering if you believe that he will survive the nomination process, or will we see a new nominee for president on the Democratic side? Now, there have been a lot of discussions, even within the party faithful. They have reported that one of the members of Congress, House member Jamie Raskin, has sent Mr. Biden a letter giving him, his flowers, telling him it's like being a pitcher who's on the mound and he's been pitching so great and the arm is tired. No, and he's to wave and take his bow, and we thank him for all he's done. And even Nancy Pelosi, when Nancy Pelosi was interviewed on CNN, you know what she said? When asked, do you support President Biden or do you think that he should stay in the race? Nancy Pelosi said, former Speaker of the House said, I want him, quote, to do whatever he wants to do. She never said yes and she never said no. People thought that was very cryptic and left the door open to that possibility. We have others like Congressman Jim Clyburn of South Carolina who have said he fully supports President Biden, but if it's not President Biden, it should be Kamala Harris. Now, that is another thing. The polls are showing that Biden is a few points back when it's about 2,000 respondents, and he's about 2 to 5 points behind Trump as of today. That is the polls from this week after the assassination attempt, after the Republican National Convention. Head to head, they have Kamala Harris on polls. This is a snapshot. Nobody can tell you what to do. Your voice is your vote. They're saying she's within 1 to 2%. So other people are asking, should there be what we call an open convention for the Democrats? And would that be an opportunity to nominate someone else? My concern is that you're seeing not only the top folks now coming forward. I think it's a total of 3 Democratic senators. All of them are in active cycles. That's the U.S. senators. There's 100 of them, 100 in the Senate, 435 in the House of Representatives. So the stronger body, the more powerful body, two per state, is the Senate. And three Democrats now have come forward in the Senate. They are in active races. They will be running. And what everybody and what the concern has been that suggests that there are some in the Democratic Party that's like, no, 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 Joe has to go, is that it will affect the enthusiasm and therefore the other races, what we call down ballot, everybody else who's running on the ballot. If nobody is enthusiastic about the top person, will they therefore still go to the polls to vote for the rest of the people, the judges, the state reps, the state senators, the sheriff, the county commissioners, the city commissioners, etc.? So when we look at this, we still though have somewhat of a divide because you still have people within the Democratic Party who are still firmly with Joe, with President Biden. Just yesterday, I saw a press release that 1,400 African American women, Black women, signed a petition in full support of Joe Biden. And since they posted that, more women behind them have come forward to say they support Joe Biden. I'm talking about women like, attorney Star Jones and the founder of Win with Black Women, a national movement, Joteka Edie, and some other really, thought leaders, bigger platformed people are now saying they support Joe. You also have on the Hispanic side, within the Hispanic Congressional Caucus, those are the people that's elected to Washington, D.C. It's the counterpart to the Congressional Black Caucus. Their fundraising arm, the Gold PAC, also put out a statement today saying they're in full support of Joe Biden. They want Joe. So not everybody's giving up ship. For myself, I'm like, this is a louder cry right now. And right now, since Joe Biden came down with COVID just yesterday, he has not been able to grab a mic and defend himself. They've canceled all of his public appearances. So for right now, he's focused on getting better. Again, when he came down Air Force One steps to rest now, come off the campaign trail, I didn't like how he looked. I didn't think he was moving as smoothly and kind of did look stiff. But of course, he must COVID. So they said he had the normal symptoms, that he's not, deathly ill, nothing like that. But he has upper respiratory, he has fatigue, he has headache, and, all of the symptoms that we heard about COVID. So he's resting right now. So this week belonged to Donald Trump and the Republicans. So people were saying, actually, it makes sense that they kind of waited. If the Democrats are going to change, they wouldn't do it in the middle of the Republican National Convention. They would wait to their convention coming up in August, right, in Chicago, just in a few weeks. So my prayer is that Joe Biden does feel better, gets back on the trail and makes the case for himself. Now, I do think the Democrats do have a problem if they are trying to remove Joe Biden and not presume Kamala Harris. There are people that says it should be an open floor debate at the Democratic National Convention, the same counterpart to nominating their presidential candidate, that Kamala Harris and anybody else should be now given the opportunity to make the case as to why they should instead be at the top of the ticket. Now, this is all a conjecture. There is a lot of support for Joe Biden. Let me say it again. There is a lot of support still for Joe based on his record, based on his character, based on all the work and all the accomplishments. And he has had a lot. And he's been pushing forward to try to bring down inflation, pushing forward to keep unemployment low, pushing forward to give money to the states, to the counties, to the cities for infrastructure, put in people to work, pushing forward for immigration reform. Actually, he had a plan and the Democrats had a plan, but Trump rather seems to be more interested in creating an issue to run on than solving the issue. So when they plan a bipartisan immigration reform package that almost all the Republicans at the time, this was earlier this year, agreed upon, and then Trump shut it down. He told them, no, don't vote on this. He didn't want Biden to get the credit. But now he's talking about in his speech how he wants to send back in a mass deportation all those who are here now in our country who do not have the proper documentation. It's a real thing. I didn't hear him speak about a lot of other policy. I know he jokes a lot, but again, I watched the nomination last night, and that when I was on my vacation. And guys, again, I'll be on vacation next week, coming back full strength August. If you are an elected or running for an elected office, you need to contact me because in August I want to focus on the local races. Somebody asked me today, Sue, do you have a list? We're putting a list together to give you an idea of who would probably align with our values. And again, that's me personal. That's not Voice of the Caribbean. Excuse me. That's me personal. So I want you guys to start. People have already been ordering their vote by mail, which is going on the supervisor of election and requesting it to be sent the ballot, right? How you vote. You can go on the day of election, August 20. Remember, the primaries are coming up first, August 20th. We all going to vote. Or you can start now and order your absentee ballot, also known as a vote by mail, where they will mail you, the supervisor of election of your county will mail you your ballot at your house, and you can review it in the comfort of your home and mail it back right before the election day. So we have those. I know people who have already ordered it and received it, and they started to read it, and they're like, Sue, I don't know some of the races. Can you help me out? Don't worry, we will. But before we do that, we have to make sure A, we're registered. B, all of our information is updated with the supervisor of election. You may have moved. Your signature may have changed, right? You can just activate yourself on the voting list, on the rolls by going on your county, wherever you live. Florida has 67 counties, whether it's Palm Beach, St. Lucie, Orange, Osceola, Broward, Miami-Dade, wherever, down to the Keys. You go on your Google, your county name with supervisor of elections next to it, and it will give you the information there. You check your name. You do basically a self lookup. And then how they cross check it is then you ask it to input either your ID number, your driver's license, and then you can request your vote by mail to be sent to your home or you update your address, right? So those are ways that we have to be encouraged. But again, last night to me was a lot of show and very little substance from here, Hulk Hogan, the WWE. Trumpomania. I can't even do it. My voice hoarse from being on the cruise show. Trumpomania is back. You ever hear him? For the real Americans. Donald Trump will fight for the real Americans. Me, I listen. I mean, I want that to myself. Who is the real Americans he talking about? I'm a naturalized citizen. I did take an oath to this country. Am I real? Every generation has people who joined the American story. That's how this country was founded. They may have gone back maybe 15 generations, maybe 7, if you came in the 1850s, if you came in 1990s, if you come now. This is our door. This is our policy. We create new Americans every day. We are unique in the world that way. We are not one religion. We are not one ethnicity. We are not one political belief. We are people that come from all over the world that believe in the same principles. So when Trump was clapping and Hulk Hogan, I rip off him shirt and take off the top shirt and Trump shirt underneath. I'm looking at this and I'm like, this is a joke. This is like a South Park episode. Are we living in a cartoon? This is serious thing. We are at war in several countries. We are supplying money and weapons for war in Israel as well as in Ukraine. And we got men on the TV, Hulk Hogan, and then one to say, and I will put this out there, is how I felt yesterday. You want to always tell athletes of color, you want to tell black athletes stay out of politics, or famous people stay out of politics, just shut up and dribble. But you got Hulk, who is taking political advice from Hulk Hogan? You got Hulk Hogan up there. You got the other guy, the WWE, Dana White came up there to finish off. I said, Trump, no entertainment, but you know, he knows how to get the news headlines, the influence, but you gotta listen to the substance of what he said. He came back onto his old talking points. Everybody was talking about, oh, brand new Trump after the bullet. Oh no, he's gonna be different. It impacted him, but I don't think it changed him. As I listen to speech, it's the same old, us versus them. It's the same old. Accusations of grievance. Something did, he's under attack. He's, the courts are being used against him. And I'd be like, Biden is enriching his family. I'm like, look at you. It's like saying, I know you are, but what am I? The same things what we see happening on his side. He is consistently now accusing Joe Biden of the same thing. I'm like, what is going on? Am I in the Twilight Zone? Putting me to dip on vacation. I took a wonderful trip, y'all, to Bermuda. Big up all the Bermudians. I wanted to wish everybody a Bermudaful day. It was a beautiful cruise. And again, I love the fact, and they say, Caribbean culture is so unique. You could drop, if you grew up in any island or have heritage in any island, and stop in Bermuda, you would feel just as home. They may be a little bit outside of what they call the Caribbean Sea and the archipelago. They are, in fact, in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean. But their culture, the people that I visited and what I saw, the language, the movement, they sound like a cross between, I don't know, kind of like a Cockney accent, British Cockney, not quite Cockney, but British, what can I call it? Oh, it's a mixture. I heard a little Toronto in there, British accent, Toronto a little bit. And they have a little bit of a swing like my Gitche Gullah, the folks that grew up on the islands outside of the Carolinas, where they are also heavily Caribbean influenced. A lot of people don't know this, but the exchange between the culture of the Caribbean and the coastal islands of the Carolinas, as well as in New Orleans, you would hear it. I thought, wow, they sound kind of Gitche Gullah, who also to me sound Bahamian with their accent. But the Bermudians, I think they migrate a lot more to Canada. They migrate a lot more to England and to other places within the British Commonwealth. We don't see them. I hear a lot, but I don't meet a lot, right? I hear about Bermuda, but I don't meet a lot. Say it's all started. But if you're from Bermuda and you're listening, big up all my Bermudians out there. You guys have a rich heritage. And like I said, we are going to see in the next few weeks. Again, I'm off on vacation starting next week, but we're going to see in the next few weeks, as Joe Biden going anywhere. What do you think? Do you think Biden can beat Trump if he stays in the race? The polling right now have Trump ahead, but that's today. It's not election day yet. Still got few months to go. We have people now saying the case is open now to picking a new presidential candidate. And then again, with why not assume it will be Kamala Harris? There are people now that say she don't have even the infrastructure. She have to start thinking about this though, about who's running her campaign, boots on the ground in each state. She might have to start thinking about it sooner than she knows. But the conversations are being had, y'all. Had. And looking again at this 92-minute speech of Donald Trump, it was quite frightening. Like I said, the critique of Biden is not even with the critique I think that should have been laid after that speech of Donald Trump. He brought his family out. He had his granddaughter speak one of the days, Kai Trump, 17 years old. Again, I think they were trying to humanize him after this. Loving family man. His kids love him, them kind of thing. There. And Melania came out yesterday. She didn't give any speeches. She actually did. This was the first day she appeared. But I do think, like I said, Uncle Joe, when you know that saying, when there's smoke, there's fire. I really believe there is something to this now. At first, I was team Joe, Joe, Joe. I will be team Joe if he ends up being the nominee. That's just I'm just a, public disclosure of my thoughts of what would be best as an individual for this campaign. You can have your thoughts, and we're not telling you how to vote. But as an individual, not representing the station, that's what I think. And I think, again, what Trump stands for, it is a different view of the country. And some would say that it would be such a damaging presidency if he was given back 4 more years now that he knows what to do. And the policies, how would they benefit everyday people? How would they impact unions? How would they impact people of color? How would they impact our senior citizens? And when it comes to what we're doing with Medicaid and Medicare, how would it impact your taxes? He is talking about putting a tariff on all imported goods, 10% tax on all imported goods. Who does that trickle down to? It trickles down to me and you. Y'all gotta pay attention. Don't let the whole Hogan and the Kid Rock and all of that, the highlights and the Amber Rose. I don't know what she had talked about. You see it? I was like, these are the so-called thought leaders. What are we talking about here? We got to get down to the issues, and where he stands on the issues has not changed. I do think God's spared his life, but the issues still will be have the last word. So make sure you're paying attention. I will not be here next week. I'm back out, but I said let me come say hi since I came back early and wanted to say hello. Big up again, all my Bermudians, and have a beautiful day. Keep it locked. Voice of the Caribbean today is Fire Friday. Is my favorite time of the week. Good music coming up all evening long. And of course, like I said, I will not be here next week, but you can catch me on the following week. I want to get ready for Lisa B coming through. Yeah. Hey, she's getting ready to do her thing. Thanks for listening, y'all. I'll see you in August. Have a good one.
WPSI.
Did you hear me that whole time?
98.7.
Okay.
I know you were fine.
Okay. I was trying to figure out, oh my God, I turned it up because I didn't know.
Yeah, no, you pulled it. That's fine. But so I just turned the commercial.
Okay. Oh, that was it. When I came in, I'm like, okay, here we go. So you remember. See you guys. Thank you so much.
Whatever it is.